We all remember The Sopranos, the Sunday nights, the tension, the brilliance. Its cast gave us moments we'll never forget. But time was cruel. One by one, they faced battles darker than their characters. Some are gone now, too soon, too painfully. Today, we remember the legends who made The Sopranos eternal, even as life took them too soon. James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano was unlike any mobster television had ever seen, brutal yet fragile, ruthless yet haunted. He didn't just run a crime family. He wrestled with his own soul, torn between therapy sessions and murders, between fatherhood and fear. Through Gandolfini's quiet rage and heartbreaking vulnerability, Tony became a mirror for every viewer who's ever felt trapped between power and pain. James Gandolfini grew up in Westwood, New Jersey, in a hard-working Italian-American household. His father, a World War II veteran turned janitor, and his mother, a cafeteria worker, raised him with old-world discipline. The young James admired his father deeply, but never forgot the man's stern temper that would later shape Tony Soprano's emotional armor. Those early lessons in restraint and frustration became the foundation of his acting truth. Before fame, Gandolfini stumbled through jobs as a bartender, bouncer, and struggling theater actor. He studied acting in New York, where pain was currency and vulnerability was craft. His breakout came with True Romance in 1993, but The Sopranos in 1999 made him immortal. Yet the fame that followed wasn't peace, it was pressure. Gandolfini felt responsible for keeping Tony alive, often punishing himself before scenes. Staying up all night, hitting his head, walking around with a rock in his shoe just to feel Tony's torment. The price was high. Behind the charisma, he battled depression, anxiety, and a growing dependence on alcohol. Friends said he was as kind as he was tortured, a man who'd quietly pay crew members' bills but couldn't quiet his own mind. His performances in Enough Said and The Drop after The Sopranos revealed a gentler artist beneath the mob boss mask. James Gandolfini played Tony Soprano when he was 38 years old. He passed away suddenly from a heart attack on June 19, 2013, while vacationing in Italy at just 51. His estate was valued at $70 million, a testament to a legacy that forever changed television. Nancy Marchand as Livia Soprano. Livia Soprano wasn't just Tony's mother, she was his curse. Manipulative, cold, and cutting with every word, she embodied the kind of love that wounds. Nancy Marchand played her not as a villain, but as a woman eroded by bitterness, the ghost that haunted Tony even when she wasn't in the room. Born in Buffalo, New York, Nancy grew up the only child of a dentist and a piano teacher. That perfectionism became her fuel. As a shy child, she found refuge in theater, where she could finally speak without trembling. Acting became both rebellion and salvation. But the pressure to excel never left. She worked tirelessly, fearing failure more than fatigue. By her 20s, Marchand had conquered the stage. Broadway, off-Broadway, and television soon followed. Each role shaped by the same precision that marked her childhood. She smoked to calm her nerves and pushed herself through long days on set and nights in rehearsal. Her performances in Lou Grant earned her 4 Emmys, but The Sopranos gave her something more profound, a final masterpiece. Even as her body failed her, she poured venom and sorrow into Livia, creating one of TV's most chilling maternal figures. When she died between seasons 2 and 3, HBO had to use early CGI to finish her final scene. Nancy Marchand played Livia Soprano when she was 71 years old. She passed away on June 18, 2000, one day before her 72nd birthday, from lung cancer and emphysema. Her net worth was estimated at $10 million, the reward of a lifetime spent perfecting every line, even as it cost her her breath. Tony Sirico as Paulie Walnuts, Gualtieri. Paulie Walnuts was the kind of man you never forgot. Loud, loyal, paranoid, and somehow both hilarious and heartbreaking. One minute he made you laugh, the next he made you flinch. In The Sopranos, Paulie wasn't just comic relief. He was a survivor, a man built by pain, superstition, and fear. And Tony Sirico didn't play him. He was him. Tony grew up in Brooklyn, in neighborhoods where one wrong look could get you hurt. His father wasn't rich and life wasn't gentle. As a teenager, he got shot over a petty argument. By his 20s, he'd been arrested nearly 30 times for everything from robbery to assault. Then one day, while serving time in Sing Sing, he watched a group of ex-cons perform a play. That moment changed everything. For the first time, Tony saw a way out. When he got out, he started from nothing. His first roles were nameless thugs standing in the background. But piece by piece, he built a career in Goodfellas, Bullets Over Broadway, and several Woody Allen films. He didn't need to fake being a gangster. He'd lived it. Every stare, every twitch of his jaw came from memory. And then came The Sopranos. Tony auditioned for Uncle Junior, but creator David Chase took one look at him and said, "No, that man is Paulie Walnuts." Sirico made Paulie unforgettable. Beneath the slicked-back hair and bravado was a boy who never really learned how to love himself. Off-camera, Tony was the same mix of contradictions. Tough, yet gentle. Proud, yet kind. In his later years, dementia slowly stole his memories, leaving behind only the laughter he'd given others. Tony Sirico played Paulie Walnuts Gualtieri when he was 57 years old. He passed away on July 8, 2022, at age 79, from natural causes after years battling dementia. His net worth was estimated at $8 million, small compared to the legacy he left behind: redemption, laughter, and a second chance that turned into immortality. Frank Vincent as Phil Leotardo. Phil Leotardo wasn't just Tony Soprano's enemy. He was pride made flesh, rage turned human. A man who'd swallowed humiliation for years until it poisoned him. Frank Vincent played him with icy control, every word a wound, every look a weapon. But to understand Phil, you have to understand the man who created him. Frank was born in Massachusetts and raised in Jersey City, the son of a steelworker and a homemaker. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. He worked from a young age, hustling by day and playing drums at night in smoky bars to help his family. Music was his escape. That rhythm, that discipline, became the heartbeat of his later performances. When the club scene began to fade, Frank teamed up with a young guitarist named Joe Pesci. Together, they formed a comedy duo, Vincent and Pesci, mixing slapstick with sharp-tongued humor. For years, they performed in small lounges, broke but hopeful. Then, a miracle. Robert De Niro saw them. That moment changed their lives. Scorsese cast them in Raging Bull, then Goodfellas, Casino, and finally, The Sopranos. Thanks to these changes, he became gentle, even philosophical. He wrote A Guy's Guide to Being a Man's Man, a funny but sincere book about integrity, class, and respect. In his later years, he slowed down, though the fire in his eyes never dimmed. He suffered from heart problems, and in September 2017, after an open-heart surgery, his heart gave out for good. Frank Vincent played Phil Leotardo when he was 67 years old. He died on September 13, 2017, at age 80, following complications from heart surgery. His net worth was around $5 million, but his true wealth was his legacy: the sound of a drum beat, a silver suit, and the image of a man who turned fury into art. John Hurd as Vin Makazian. Vin Makazian wasn't in The Sopranos for long, but his shadow lingered. A cop who fed Tony Soprano information by day and drowned his conscience by night, he was a man crushed by guilt, addiction, and secrets too heavy to carry. John Hurd gave him that quiet, bruised humanity, the kind that makes you realize not every tragedy wears a badge or carries a gun. John was born in Washington, D.C., into a middle-class family that looked perfect on paper. His father worked for the Department of Defense, and his mother was active in community theater. But behind closed doors, life wasn't easy. John often felt misunderstood, out of place, like he was living in someone else's world. The stage became his refuge. Through the 70s and 80s, Hurd became one of the most respected actors of his generation. He conquered Broadway, won Obie Awards, and earned rave reviews in Cutter's Way. Yet despite his talent, peace eluded him. Fame brought pressure, and pressure brought self-destruction. Alcohol became a comfort and a curse. Friends watched him slip in and out of jobs, relationships, and rehabs, fighting a war only he could see. John Hurd played Vin Makazian when he was 53 years old. He died on July 21st, 2017 at age 71 from a heart attack likely tied to years of stress, illness, and regret. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $3.5 million. But his true wealth was the honesty he brought to every broken man he ever played. Denise Borino-Quinn as Ginny Sacrimoni. Ginny Sacrimoni wasn't your typical mob wife. She was kind, funny, soft-hearted. As Johnny Sac's wife, she was the one thing he truly loved, the only person who reminded viewers that even gangsters could be human. Denise Borino-Quinn brought Ginny to life with sincerity that came not from training, but from truth. Denise was never meant to be an actress. She grew up in Roseland, New Jersey, and lived a quiet, ordinary life. She worked as a legal assistant, paid her bills, and never dreamed of fame. One day, she accompanied a friend to a Sopranos casting call, just for moral support. But when the casting team saw her, something clicked. They called her back, and suddenly this woman with no experience was on one of the biggest shows in television history. Her performance as Ginny struck a chord. Fans adored her. She wasn't glamorous like Carmela or ruthless like Janice. She was real. Off-screen, Denise struggled with her own body image, just like her character. After the show ended, she underwent weight loss surgery and lost nearly 200 pounds. But even as she changed physically, she stayed grounded, humble, and grateful. Life, however, had other plans. In 2010, Denise's husband, Luke, passed away suddenly. Just 7 months later, Denise followed, taken by liver cancer. Denise Borino-Quinn played Ginny Sacrimoni when she was about 35 years old. She died on October 27, 2010, at age 46 from liver cancer. Her net worth was estimated at around $1 million, but the love she left behind in fans' hearts can't be measured in money. John Costelloe as Jim Johnny Cakes Witowski. John Costelloe brought to life Jim Johnny Cakes Witowski, the quiet diner owner whose kindness and honesty broke the Sopranos' darkness for just a moment. His scenes with Vito weren't just about forbidden love. They were about dignity, hope, and two people daring to be seen. Born and raised in Brooklyn, John came from a blue-collar world where toughness was a rule, not a choice. Before acting, he spent 11 years as a New York firefighter, running into burning buildings, saving lives, and watching some he couldn't save. Those years carved a depth into him that no acting school could teach. When he left the firehouse for the stage, he wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing meaning. But Hollywood isn't kind to quiet souls. John found work in Die Hard 2, Manhattan Murder Mystery, and finally, The Sopranos. Yet the recognition never matched his talent. He wrestled with isolation and depression, feeling caught between two worlds. John Costelloe played Jim Johnny Cakes Witowski at age 45. On December 18, 2008, the silence won. John took his own life, shocking friends and former colleagues across New York. He left behind an estimated net worth of $500,000, and a legacy that reminded viewers that even small acts of kindness can outlive the person who gave them. Tony Lip as Carmine Lupertazzi Sr. Tony Lip's Carmine Lupertazzi Sr. ruled with calm authority, a boss who didn't shout, didn't rush, but whose every word could move an army. His quiet power in The Sopranos came naturally to Tony because he had lived among the kind of men who inspired it. Born Frank Anthony Vallelonga in the Bronx, Tony grew up in a tight Italian-American neighborhood. He earned the nickname Lip for his gift of persuasion. He could talk anyone into anything. Long before acting, he worked as a bouncer at the Copacabana nightclub, mingling with both movie stars and mobsters. Those nights taught him about respect, danger, and the fine line between the two. He served in the Army, drove jazz pianist Don Shirley through the segregated South. Decades later, this life gave him the experiences to win the Oscar-winning Green Book. Tony's real life was already a movie before he ever stepped onto a set. When Hollywood finally noticed him, he brought truth to Goodfellas, Donnie Brasco, and finally The Sopranos, where his natural authority turned Carmine into a legend. Tony Lip played Carmine Lupertazzi Sr. at 69 years old. He passed away on January 4, 2013, from renal failure at 82. With a net worth of roughly $2 million, he left behind more than films. He left stories that blurred the line between the man he was and the legends he portrayed. Joseph Siravo as Johnny Boy Soprano. Do you remember Tony Soprano's father? That cold, commanding man whose shadow never really left him. That was Johnny Boy Soprano, and Joseph Siravo gave him life with a performance so haunting, it felt like Tony's pain had finally found its source. His few scenes also told his lifetime story. Joseph grew up in Washington, D.C., in a calm, middle-class home. His father worked for the Department of Defense. His mother loved the arts. On the surface, it was all stability. But deep down, Joseph felt something restless. Theater became his way out. He studied at Stanford, then trained at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, where ambition met reality. Acting wasn't easy. Endless rejections, sleepless auditions, and long nights wondering if anyone would ever notice. But he kept pushing. His work on Broadway and The Light in the Piazza in Oslo proved that persistence could outlast doubt. Then came Carlito's Way, where he held his own against Al Pacino, and later, The Sopranos, where he became the ghost behind the throne. But success didn't protect him from pain. Joseph battled silently as cancer spread through his body, from prostate to colon. Still, he refused to stop working, appearing in The People v. O.J. Simpson, The Report, and countless stage projects, even when the fatigue became unbearable. Joseph Siravo played Johnny Boy Soprano at 44 years old. He passed away on April 11, 2021, at the age of 66, after a long fight with metastatic cancer. His net worth was estimated at $1.5 million, but the truth is, you can't put a price on an actor who gave such depth to the ghosts that shaped one of television's greatest tragedies. Tom Aldredge as Hugh DeAngelis. There was something deeply human about Tom Aldredge's Hugh DeAngelis, the quiet father who stood at the edge of the Sopranos' storm. He didn't speak much, but when he did, his words carried warmth, reason, and the kind of wisdom only time can teach. His presence reminded us that ordinary decency could still survive in extraordinary chaos. Tom's life began far from the bright lights of Hollywood. He was born in Dayton, Ohio, to a strict Air Corps colonel and a soft-spoken French mother. Their world was built on discipline, duty, and quiet pride. But Tom was different. Though he studied law in college, the courtroom never called to him. The stage did. One night, after watching a streetcar named Desire, he walked out of the theater with tears in his eyes and a new purpose in his heart. From that moment, he devoted his life to acting. Over 5 decades, he became a fixture on Broadway, earning 5 Tony nominations and winning a Drama Desk Award. His powerful performances in Into the Woods and on Golden Pond proved his remarkable range, while television brought him new audiences through Boardwalk Empire and Damages. Tom Aldredge played Hugh DeAngelis at 72 years old. He passed away on July 22, 2011, at the age of 83 from lymphoma. His net worth was around $2 million, but his true legacy was far greater. A lifetime spent proving that gentleness is its own kind of strength, and that even the smallest roles can leave the deepest mark. Suzanne Shepherd as Mary DeAngelis. She didn't need a gun or a threat to command a room, just her voice. Suzanne Shepherd's Mary DeAngelis was the embodiment of old-school authority, blunt, judgmental, and fiercely protective beneath layers of criticism. Every scene she appeared in felt like a Sunday dinner turned battlefield. Suzanne was born Sadie Gertrude Stern in Elizabeth, New Jersey, into a struggling Jewish family that taught her the art of survival early. Her father hustled to keep the lights on. Her mother cooked to keep the family together. When she changed her name at 13, it was transformation. She studied under the legendary Sanford Meisner, absorbing his belief that truth mattered more than perfection. That discipline shaped a career full of grit and honesty. Whether it was Goodfellas or Mystic Pizza, Suzanne specialized in women who carried entire histories in their tone of voice. But behind her fierce presence was a woman quietly fighting her own decline. COPD and kidney failure began to steal her breath, yet she kept teaching, mentoring actors long after her body grew weak. Suzanne Shepherd played Mary DeAngelis in The Sopranos when she was 66 years old. She passed away on November 17, 2023, at 89, from complications of COPD and kidney failure. Her net worth was about $1 million, but her influence stretched far beyond money into every performer she ever taught to be fearless. Edie Falco as Carmela Soprano. Some characters bleed quietly, and Edie Falco's Carmela Soprano bled through her smile. She was strength in pearls, a woman torn between faith, family, and a life she couldn't escape. Falco gave her layers no script could spell out: guilt, longing, pride, and a kind of moral exhaustion that made her heartbreak universal. Edie's story began in Brooklyn, raised by artists who loved the dream but feared the bills. Her father played jazz, her mother acted, and both taught her that creation was sacred, even when it didn't pay. Those lessons carved resilience into her. She waited tables, auditioned endlessly, and learned early that survival was an art form too. The grind finally broke open with Laws of Gravity, a low-budget indie that showed what raw truth looked like on film. From there, Falco built her reputation on authenticity. Never overacting, never faking it. Then came The Sopranos, and everything shifted. Her portrayal of Carmela earned her 3 Emmys, 2 Golden Globes, and made her one of television's most respected actresses. But the spotlight wasn't gentle. Edie faced alcoholism, clawed her way to sobriety, and later fought breast cancer in silence. Through it all, she kept working, pouring her survival into art. Her later success in Nurse Jackie proved she could reinvent herself again. Edie Falco played Carmela Soprano at 36 years old. As of 2025, she is 62, still active in film and television, with acclaimed performances in Boopkiss and The White Lotus. Her net worth is estimated at $50 million. But her true value lies in the emotional truth she gave to every scene, every silence, and every sacrifice. Michael Imperioli as Christopher Moltisanti. You could never take your eyes off Christopher Moltisanti, not because he was perfect, but because he was always on the edge of collapse. Michael Imperioli made him more than Tony's protege. He made him the embodiment of wasted talent and fragile ambition. Every scene burned with the sense that Christopher wanted greatness but couldn't escape himself. Michael's hunger for expression started long before The Sopranos. Growing up in Mount Vernon, New York, in a modest Italian-American family, he saw hard work up close. His father drove buses by day and acted for local theater at night. That mix of labor and art shaped Michael's view of the world. At 17, he moved alone to Manhattan to study acting, a decision that would define everything to come. The struggle was real. Michael spent his 20s in tiny apartments working odd jobs between auditions. But that fire paid off. He landed small but powerful roles in Goodfellas and Jungle Fever, proving he could hold his own beside giants like Al Pacino and Spike Lee. Those years of grit and uncertainty gave him a depth that no acting class could teach. As fame arrived, Michael didn't lose himself in it. He wrote and directed Summer of Sam, played in bands, and built a creative life that wasn't about ego but expression. Still, he knew the toll of the business. Instead of letting it consume him, he turned it into something that could help others, teaching and mentoring young actors while keeping a quiet balance through music and writing. Michael Imperioli played Christopher Moltisanti when he was 33 years old. As of 2025, he is 59 and still thriving, acting, writing, and even making music with his band Zopa. His estimated net worth is around $20 million. But what matters most is that he turned a character's tragedy into a legacy of truth and resilience. Lorraine Bracco as Dr. Jennifer Melfi. The moment Lorraine Bracco appeared as Dr. Jennifer Melfi, everything in The Sopranos slowed down. Calm, intelligent, and quietly fearless, Melfi became the one person Tony couldn't intimidate, and Bracco's poise made every therapy session feel like a battle fought with silence instead of guns. Lorraine's journey to that kind of strength was anything but calm. Born in Brooklyn to a working-class family, she grew up in noise, in hustle, in survival. At 20, she fled to France to work as a model, chasing freedom more than fame. It was glamorous on the surface, but lonely underneath. That understanding later became the key to her acting. She didn't just perform emotions, she understood where they came from. Her breakthrough came with Goodfellas, as Karen Hill, the mob wife who knew too much and felt too deeply. The role earned her an Oscar nomination and proved she could command a story even in the shadow of powerful men. But it also came with pressure, typecasting, and burnout. Lorraine battled depression for years, using meditation and therapy to rebuild her sense of self. Then came Dr. Melfi, and it changed everything. Lorraine fought for that role, refusing to be just another mob wife. Her performance earned multiple Emmy and Golden Globe nominations, but more importantly, it made television history. After The Sopranos, she continued with Rizzoli and Isles, and even hosted My Big Italian Adventure, where her warmth and humor shone through again. Lorraine Bracco played Dr. Jennifer Melfi when she was 45 years old. As of 2025, she is 71, still active in the entertainment world, and as candid as ever about mental health and aging in Hollywood. Her estimated net worth is around $14 million, but her real legacy is her courage to face the darkness, both on screen and off, with unshakable grace. Stephen Van Zandt as Silvio Dante. No one could have played Silvio Dante quite like Stephen Van Zandt. Sharp suit, slick hair, and that permanent squint that said he'd seen too much but would never tell. As Tony Soprano's right-hand man, Silvio wasn't just a consigliere. He was the calm beneath the chaos, the enforcer who never lost his composure. Every gesture, every quiet stare carried authority, a perfect reflection of the man behind the character. Stephen was born in Winthrop, Massachusetts under the name Stephen Lento and grew up in a hard-working Italian-American household. When his parents divorced, life didn't get easier, but it taught him independence. By his teens, he had already found refuge in music. His guitar became the voice he didn't yet know how to use in words. That obsession would lead him to Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, turning the boy from Massachusetts into a rock and roll icon. His rise in music wasn't without pain. Stephen was fiery, political, unafraid to speak up, qualities that cost him mainstream success but earned him lifelong respect. His solo project, Little Stephen and the Disciples of Soul, and his activism with artists united against apartheid proved that he was more than a sideman. But when The Sopranos came along, he found something unexpected: a second life. Acting had never been part of his plan, yet it felt like fate reminding him he still had stories left to tell. The transition from stage to screen wasn't easy. Stephen had no formal acting training. What he had was instinct, timing, and the soul of a storyteller. Creator David Chase took a chance on him, and it paid off. His Silvio became iconic. Part gangster, part philosopher. The man who quoted The Godfather like scripture. That confidence later carried him into Lilyhammer, where he led his own series, proving his charisma wasn't confined to music. Steven Van Zandt played Silvio Dante when he was 49 years old. As of 2025, he is 75, still touring with the E Street Band and performing with his solo group, the Disciples of Soul. Beyond music, he continues to mentor young artists and host Little Steven's Underground Garage radio show. His net worth is estimated at $12 million, but his true legacy lies in the way he bridged two worlds, the swagger of rock and roll and the silence of a made man. Their stories may have ended, but their legacy never will. Which of these Sopranos stars left the deepest mark on you? Share your thoughts and help keep their memory alive.